You guys are in the back. Can you hear me all right? Can you good? Well, great, whatever. All right. Woo, do not stand there. That's the bad place to stand. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time on your busy schedules this afternoon to join us for the university side of the house buying experience. Really not different than the medical center side, but we decided to split up the two groups to kind of make the groups more manageable, to fit us in spaces that we can get at this point in the school year. So I appreciate you guys taking time on your busy day again and coming to join us. And we've got some fun stuff to throw at you guys today to help you get ready for go live in July. I want to introduce myself. My name is Jack Mullen, the Workstream Manager for Supply Chain for the Enterprise Project Team. And before we get started, has anybody not heard of Workday? Just raise your hand. Perfect. All right, so we cleared that hurdle. To get us started today, it's my distinct honor and privilege to introduce Chris Devine.
He's a major stuck up if you don't know.
Who is Vice President for Operations and our Deputy CFO on the university side. So I'm going to hand the mic off to her for her to add some comments.
Thank you.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Sounds like it works. I don't know, I have some prepared remarks. I'm not very good at doing anything on script, so I'm just gonna wing it a little bit here. I recognize some of you I don't recognize. I thought I'd spend, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, nope, you're fine. Just feel free to move around. I blacked out the screen so you don't get blinded.
That's fine. I really was gonna spend a little bit of time maybe up here. If those of you who work with me a lot, I'm always going, we gotta talk about up here first. And so I wanna talk about kind of big picture concepts. I spent some time at Council of Deans yesterday talking about efficiency. Some of that efficiency was around a procurement. I thought I'd give you a little bit of background. If you look back, I think I've been with the university 8 years. Since 2012, we really tried to squeeze down our vendor population. We started with 29,000 vendors in the system on the university side of the house. We're down to 12,000. We think optimally, if we could really get there, we should be around 8,500 to 9,000 vendors. The concept there really out of the gate is the fewer vendors we have in the system, the more purchasing power we get from those vendors, the more economical what we buy from vendors really is. That's the macro. So those of you out there in the units are trying to get a new vendor in the system and it's a pain in your fanny to get it done, here is why. We really squeeze it down because when we get more volume through these vendors, I get better pricing, and to demonstrate that kind of economic savings on the university side alone, since 2012, if you looked at 2012 pricing compared to the pricing we pay today buying that same type of stuff, over that course of years, we've saved $388 million on pricing reductions for this organization. That's an immense amount of money, and that savings goes right in because of the way our budget model works. If you bought something in 12 and then in 13 you bought it and it was cheaper, it's just savings that runs through your budget within your unit, whether it's a college or support unit. And so I want to plant that seed with you because sometimes I know people get incredibly frustrated with the process, but there's a strategy behind what we're doing and why we're doing it. We don't always get it right. I know sometimes, especially on the regional campuses, we get beat up for not using local vendors efficiently. Sometimes we might be a little too quick to say no, but the strategy behind it is save literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for this organization. So I want you to be mindful of that. That's all of this aligns to strategy. Part of what Workday is happening, if you don't know, our PeopleSoft finance system is 8.4, it's the oldest in the country, and I'm a farm kid, so I'll tell you it's pulled together right now with baling wire and straw and some Band-Aids. It's not great. So we desperately need to upgrade our finance system. We decided to go to a cloud-based product. What you'll see today is more Workday and the front end component of how do we buy stuff within the organization. But I wanted you to understand what we're really mindful of on the Workday project, and really as part of the organization as a whole. How do we streamline these processes so you can get what you need to buy faster at the best price? That's incredibly important to us as an organization. And how do we have that front end user experience that's relatively easy to use? It's probably not going to be as easy to use as I was hopeful in the very beginning, but we're continuing to move through that process. We push really hard on the image side compared to the med center, that we need that front end user experience to be as quick and efficient and intuitive as humanly possible within the constraints of the system that we can get. And that's because, as you know, and we'll see a lot, we have many distributed buyers across the university. Whereas in the med center, the buyers are very centralized. And so we're constantly having this, I'll call it healthy tension between the two sides of the group that says, I understand for Hal on your side of the house that meets your needs. On our side of the house, on the university side, we have a different set of facts and circumstances. We have many people that touch the system that buy stuff. It'll always be that way at Ohio State. Whereas he has a contained central group of users that generally buy stuff for the med center, and just go back to 29,000 vendors down to 12,000-ish today for the university side. From a context perspective, the med center buys 80% of their stuff from 100 vendors. Completely different business model if you just think about it from the macro. So I'm just trying to give you some big picture context. That's what we're trying to achieve here. We are constantly trying to keep your jobs in mind as much as we possibly can. We're trying to make it as easy as we possibly can. And whatever it is that you're expecting, we probably haven't delivered somewhere. Let's get down in front of. We're trying to do it as best we can, but it'll be constantly iterative. The real nice thing about Workday for us is we'll never sit on an 800-year-old process and system again, because the cloud-based product is going to continually be upgraded, and that it enables us to relook at our business processes and the system on a continuous basis. So we're going to kind of move into this continuous improvement mode, and that's really positive for this organization as a whole. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks for coming, everyone. And thanks in advance for all the work you're going to do for the next 9 months. It's going to be a heavy lift for all of us. Thanks.
Okay, I want to make sure you guys can still hear me. Thank you again, Chris. I appreciate you starting us off this morning. So I'm going to come back down here, kind of get at the ground level a little bit. So, so just to add on to what Chris is saying, one of the things that does make Workday a little bit unique to what we're used to with PeopleSoft is it is a cloud-based system, which means we're not getting an out-of-the-box model or an out-of-the-box software program. Really, this has been a build from the ground up to fit the business needs, okay? So that's one of the first distinctions that I wanted to call out. And so me being the perfectionist that I am, for those of you who know me and know that I am a perfectionist, that was one of the things that I had to get used to really quick in this project was we're not going to go live with 100% of everything that we want, because we have the opportunity to continue to build after go live and minimize the impact of the change to you guys, the folks working and using the system out in the university. So that's one of the benefits that Workday does give us moving forward. So I wanted to spend some time to just talk about what Workday is and what it's not going to be. It's, as Chris had said, it's a cloud-based solution. Cloud just meaning, hey, as technology changes, we have the opportunity to change right along with it, right? So the infrastructure is there. We don't have customizable events in infrastructure. However, business processes within the infrastructure is configurable to meet our business needs. So those are some terminology words that we're going to have to get used to as time goes on. PeopleSoft, heavily customized. We've got custom pages left and right. We've built custom front ends left and right to fit our needs. Workday, on the other hand, we don't have to build these custom add-ons. We can configure the business process within the system to fit our needs for workflow routing, for approvals, how we transact, how we report, which is another key benefit to Workday. The analytics and the data that sits in Workday is baked in the memory of the system, so it's real time. So when you think about a report, today we're used to saying, oh, I've got to go run this report to print off, right? Well, a report in Workday could give you that ability to export it to Excel and print it off if you want, but really a report in Workday is a screen in Workday that actually shows you the data real time, that you can assess your spend or what you're buying and how you're buying it and what your supplier mix is when buying certain goods and services. So the benefits that Workday also provides us is, as Chris alluded to, continual change. We have the opportunity to change at least every 6 months with a new enhancement, okay? You might be sitting there saying, what is an enhancement? Well, an enhancement is, as we go along with this relationship with Workday and we find things that we need to do to make our lives better, we raise what's called requirements or brainstorms to Workday to say, hey, you know what? Don't really like how this works. Can we take a look at, figuring out how to make it better? Workday will take those requirements with their other customers. They create a design partner group where we have the ability to talk to our requirements and help them actually build that. So Ohio State sitting at the table with the company to build the product together, which is very exciting for us. It also offers us the advantage of being more mobile, not being tied to the desk, right? Things on your phone, things on devices, point of view scanning. A lot of these things where we're really sitting in a chair and we're, I don't know if you guys know, but that's what carpal tunnel looks like. I can't even make it 3 anymore. So, just getting out there and hitting buttons and scanning stuff. Improved data utilization and reporting. I kind of touched on this a little bit easier, where you don't necessarily have to have another layer to pull data out. Workday can actually consume disparate system data and a platform they call Prism to marry data up in the future. And then just overall, trying to get us greater visibility to our transactions and processes. So Chris alluded also in her opening remarks about the strategic initiatives that President Drake set out. It's called time and change, right? So why Workday? Why are we doing a lot of this stuff? The project that we're implementing Workday actually falls in that 5th pillar under operational excellence and resource stewardship, right? So the goal here for us is, we want to get in there, we want to look at what our current state processes are, we want to cut out as much manualness in our processes as we can, and being more efficient allows us to be more strategic and less transactional, right? So let's get out in front, let's use data, let's, try to figure out how we can continue to save money, because the strategic initiative is really about making college more affordable for our students, and on the health center side, increasing the outcomes for our patients that come and visit our medical facilities. All right, so let me go through the agenda real quick. So change, we're going to talk about change impact. Like, how is the buying experience changing for you, and what are the highlights that you guys need to know about? The preview of the buying experience, we've got some members of our team up here that are going to come up and show you what purchasing through the marketplace looks like, as well as what you guys call off-contract spend or special requests today. And then we'll save some time for questions and answers. So before we get started, if everybody could stand up for me for just a quick second. Yes. Those of you who have been with the university 5 years or less, sit down. 10 years and less. 15 years and less. 20 years and less. All right.
Keep going.
20 years, I just want to congratulate all of you guys for being here 20 years. And those of you 15 years, that's a big accomplishment. So I wanted to understand how long people have been here so that we can help make sure that we tailor our presentations to you guys. So I appreciate you guys. You guys can sit down. Okay. One other question I got before I introduce our presenters is, how many of you guys, just by a show of hands, your job is about 80% creating e-requests today? Okay. How about 50%? How about less than 10%? All right, perfect. Okay. All right, so the people who are going to help me present today is Lauren Reed. She's the business analyst on our supply chain project team, and Jamie Claypool from our organizational change management, who is also part of our supply chain team on the project as well. All right, so a couple ground rules before we get started. One, safe harbor for those of you who have been in Workday project or have been exposed to Workday. They always start out all of our design partner group calls or anything that we're talking about functionality in a safe harbor perspective, right? Safe harbor just means, hey, what we're going to show you could change by the time we go live. However, we're at a point in time where we wanted to make sure that we come out to show you guys what we have today, and get your feedback, and if there's any course correction that's needed or anything that we can do to kind of, make the user experience a little bit better. But just understand that we're in a demo tenant. This is not training. We're not going to train you how to create requisitions. We're just going to demo it to you, right? So as with anything in a live demo, the unexpected is always going to happen. So I will say up front, I apologize if anything happens. However, we are in a demo tenant. We are trying to use live data from Ohio State to facilitate that. So you'll see items and suppliers and stuff that might be familiar to you, but I just want to make sure that we all know that this is not the final look at the marketplace. We are still continuing to build this out, and we will be building this out probably up until about April-ish. Even for user-accepted testing, we'll be making some changes as some of you folks start to get into the system and play around with it. The one thing too that we want to do is go ahead and ask questions. If something's there and it's really, you got a question and it's burning at you and you need to get an answer for it, by all means, raise your hands, ask questions after each of the demos. What we try to do is try to keep a flow going through the demo, but we do want to make sure that you guys have enough time to ask questions. All right, any questions about anything that I said so far? Did I bore you guys to death? All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Jamie Claypool, who is our organizational change management analyst, and she will be taking us through the change impacts.
Thanks, Jack. That you almost don't need this thing, but as soon as somebody starts, kind of making some noise out in the hallway there, then you do need it. So it is nice to have it on us. Give me just a second to get hooked up. All right, there we go. Yeah, see, just that little bit in case there's some noise out there. So, hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Jamie Claypool, and I am the change analyst supporting supply chain. I'm part of a larger team of organizational change management that consists of stakeholder engagement, marketing, communications, and learning and development. And it's the goal of our team to prepare those who power the university, to really empower you to be prepared for and move through change. So what I'm going to talk to you about briefly today is what some of these changes that Lauren's going to detail for us, what are these going to feel like? Kind of back in the office, get back to our home shop, what are they going to feel like to us as far as day-to-day operations? And then we'll also detail what kind of actions are going to come your way over time to help prepare staff to be ready to take on these changes. So, and as well, just a nice little side note, we probably won't go till 4:30 today, so you like me already, right? I'm going to ground us a little bit in what is the no? What's not changing? Here's some positive news. Not every single thing is going to change. That we're still going to have the ability to get what we need, when we need it, and where we need it. If your department needs that specialized, tiny little widget that goes inside the big machine and we only order it every now and again, you're still going to get the things you need. So no worries in that front. But let's look at some of the positive changes that the new system and the new business processes are going to bring us. Some of the things that are changing is that we're moving to that single marketplace for both campus and medical center users. That e-request and e-materials will be going away. And you'll start to hear us talk more about the university ecosystem that we really are combining as a comprehensive group in that single marketplace. That marketplace is going to have an intuitive user interface. Just means it's going to be easier to use, provide a positive experience for those trying to order, and give them greater insight and transparency into those orders as well. No more, I put in my request and what's happening with it? How can I check back on that? Or we'll easily be able to look up, gosh, how much have we spent on pins this month, kind of thing. So a lot more transparency than we're used to. So that being said, I'll let Lauren get into the details of what is actually changing in the system. But those are just a few notes on what it might feel like back in the office. What I attempt to detail for you here is to illustrate the change actions that would be happening for, say, your average user, your average person that's making your requisition over time. And I'm going to try to do that via an illustration. So I'm going to introduce you to Vanessa. Vanessa is an office associate in the College of Arts and Sciences. And that from 9 to 12 months before go live, up to go live, there's a number of different actions that the project has planned for Vanessa. A few disclaimers in that this is some of the actions that the supply chain team would have planned for Vanessa. Vanessa might wear different hats. Let's say she had some HR responsibilities. So anything that would be related to that, of course, she'd be prepared in that sense as well, but I'm not detailing those up here. I won't tell you every single thing that we have planned for end users today, because you'll take off your shoes and throw them at me. But what I hope to do with my illustration, which is backed up by your handout, you'll notice on the handout it talks about change patterns. I just want to introduce to you the kind of patterns that we're going to follow to help prepare users to get ready for change. So I'll go over this a little bit. So Vanessa's experience. One of the first experiences she may have is that 9 to 12 months before go live, Vanessa would attend a user preview session to learn more about the buying experience. Okay, well good, you took the first step. Good job, everyone. Also at 9 to 12 months, Vanessa's change coordinator is going to schedule a faculty and staff meeting where the college change team is going to recap the big changes that can be expected for her area. A show of hands, who knows who their local change coordinator is? Does anybody know? Oh, lots of you do. I'm so glad. Is anybody in the room a change coordinator? Yay! A few of us in the room. I'll talk more about these guys before I finish today. So if you didn't know your change coordinator, that's okay. I'll show you how to get in contact with them. As well, in that 6 to 9 month time frame there, Vanessa's going to start to see a lot more. She'll read articles in different kinds of campus-wide publications that the policies are open for comment, and that she's able to go online herself and review those and see how they might impact her in the office that she works in. 3 to 6 months before go live, Vanessa's going to be able to attend some virtual instructor-led trainings on topics that are important to her role, things like the marketplace, things like invoice approval. As well, at 3 to 6 months before go live, towards the end of 3 to 6 months before go live, be probably a little more at 0 to 3 months, Vanessa's going to be able to practice those newly acquired skills in a lab that's going to be organized by her college change team. And the idea is here, you've probably experienced it yourself. If you've gone to a training and everything worked just fine, and you were in the training, trainer's right there, or even if you're watching a virtual training, yep, everything's working, I see. And then you get back to your desk, you're like, nothing is working the way it did in training, why not? So this lab experience is going to give you the opportunity to really see what it's going to be like at go live, and that you're going to be logged into your computer with your assignments, and with only the help that you would have on day one, the people sitting around you, and maybe a job aid, to really be able to practice in the environment. So it would be supported by the organizational change management team. It's not like we're leaving you out there to flounder, but it's a nice way for you to be able to get hands-on experience. At that same time frame, 0 to 3 months before go live, Vanessa continues to build her skills because she's going to have videos, on-demand videos, job aids, FAQs, in-system assistance right in Workday, in-system assistance at the top of the screen, and some processes have Workday can even pop up at different fields that can show you. Right before go live, right at go live, we're hoping that Vanessa's feeling ready to go, but even if she isn't, she knows where to go when it comes to help. And then of course post go live, it's not like we're leaving. That there's an organizational structure that's being developed now to support the continuous improvement structure that Workday provides, with more opportunities for ongoing training needs. So I'm not trying to detail for you every single thing that an end user would experience to prepare them for go live, but just wanted to get you familiar with some of the patterns that you probably see coming your way. So that being said, I want to leave you with a couple of final thoughts before Lauren gets us into the system a bit. That these user previews really are kind of the kickoff, ready, set, go. That from here we hope to start bringing you a lot more small chunks of micro learnings. That the larger marketing campaign will kick off in late fall, and that's going to bring you things like bus size billboards, more things in your lobby, things along those lines. I talked about this change coordinator. That if you visit the project website, which is on the bottom right-hand corner of your handout, that under the resources tab, you can look up your area change coordinator, and I suggest that you do because they're your new best buddy for all things Workday. Even if they don't know the answers to questions, they know where to find the answers to questions. So definitely somebody that you'd want to be familiar with. As well too, on that same resources tab on the project website, you can look at changing policies, summaries of them, and get to detailed descriptions. That resource section also has a few things out there called our core concept sessions, which are, they detail different areas of Workday in a little more depth. So like reporting is an example of one, security roles is an example of another one, just a little more depth so that you can understand. As well, a number of sessions, recordings like these user previews will go up there. We did a few other deep dives into procurement, supplier accounts, and inventory. So those sessions will be posted for you to view too if you have any interest in those areas. And just as well, if there's anything that you don't see here today that you really have a burning desire to know, just reach out. We're happy to talk to anyone who will listen to us. So invite us to come talk to you. I'm sure we can bring it your way. So as far as training is concerned and how we're going to prepare for that, any questions you guys want to ask me about how we're going to be ready, set, go between now and July? Please.
The people that are actually doing your request right now going to be all on this list, or are you limiting the list?
Are we limiting our list of people who can requisition within the university? No. The university will still have the ability to requisition as they requisition today. They'll just use new systems to do it. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Please.
In the previous training about delegation roles,
Okay.
they mentioned that they would be assigned in March.
Okay.
So then the training would start between after that happened. So April through.
0 to 3 months before go live in general is when a lot of our hands-on keys needing to get in the system training would happen.
Okay.
So when you're asking me delegation, the ability to like order on behalf of someone else, is that what you're thinking?
Sorry, I just meant they're gonna start assigning our security roles
Yes.
to determine what access we have in the system.
Yep. So she asked us first, what, so within Workday, just like we're used to in PeopleSoft, that payable, I might be a office associate, and I have these 5 different functions I need to do within my day. It might take 2 Workday security roles to be able to perform those functions. So she was asking when would security roles be assigned to then be able to practice my functions. So 0 to 3 months before go live, when a lot of those instructor-led virtual lab things are happening. So.
Okay, so on your example that you had with Vanessa,
Okay.
that opportunity was 3 to 6 months before go live.
That, yes, it should have been towards more the end. 0 to 3 months is where I feel more comfortable saying.
Okay, that was my question.
My illustration didn't stretch it all.
That was the way it was
Design.
explained in the previous training, that it would be
Okay.
within 0 to 3 months.
Mistake on my part, I will stretch around a
No,
little.
I just didn't know if things had changed and we would start the training sooner.
No, 0 to 3 months. That's going to be the most effective time frame as far as making sure the system is there and ready to support, thoroughly tested.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Those are good ones. Please.
You said that was all on Buckeye Learn.
Yeah, all the registration will happen through Buckeye Line. Yeah, the website has, under the project website, has a lot of resources out there that just anybody can view, so definitely go view those for stuff now. But when it comes to, long-term training, that 0 to 3 month time frame, Buckeye Learn, just like you registered for this one. So, thanks, guys. All right, then, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Miss Lauren Reed. That'll actually get us in the system so we can see what this new buying experience is like. And you're on. All right, can you hear me? Okay.
So, as Jamie introduced, my name is Lauren Reed. I'm a business analyst here on the Workday Enterprise Project. I am in the procurement BA. So everything you basically do in procurement. So anything buying, POs, direct to receipt, that's what I handle. Just a little background on myself. I've been with the university about 13 years. I've been a student employee, and then I was offered a good job at the Office of Sponsored Programs as a buyer. And then after that, I moved down to the medical center and was a buyer and a supply chain analyst for several years before taking on this position. So my entire life has been with Ohio State and within procurement for the most part. So today we're going to talk about the buying experience and what it means for the end user's point of view. So in future state, everything will be entered in through one system. So today we have eRequest and we have PeopleSoft. Both of those systems will be going away and we'll be going to one system. So in Workday, we have requisitions. So in PeopleSoft, we have requisitions as well. Everybody will be submitting requisitions in the future. So there will be areas where you can submit a catalog request, so meaning you can buy things off the marketplace, which will include our internal suppliers, catalogs of posted catalogs, or any of our B2B punch outs, which means business links like Staples, Dell, CDW, Ranger, those types of things will all be housed in one area. And then there'll be another area within Workday where you can also do non-catalog requests. But the mechanism to get into both of those areas is still one way. So it's trying to streamline and make sure that we understand that you only have two different options. but it allows the end user to feel more comfortable. So we are also are going to have in our work stream and our work flow basically review for compliance. So you're going to submit a requisition within Workday, and there's going to be maybe some review for compliance depending on what type of item you're purchasing, what type of spend categories that they're using, and maybe what type of supplier you're using. So there could be additional reviews. But for the most part, everything is going to be reviewed by a cost center manager, which is your fiscal person within Workday. And this allows them to review information that you're purchasing to make sure it hits the budget correctly and make sure it's for compliance. And then after that, within the requisition workflow, there's additional approvals that might be needed, like I said, based on spend categories, based on cost level. So if it's over a certain dollar threshold, we might have to go to somebody higher to review. So we've taken all those considerations and tried to build it into one streamlined workflow, which then allows the user just to submit the request, and then workflows down the pattern. So then you always know who's coming up next, and you can see the process. So a little bit behind the scenes, within supply chain, it's very basic that a requisition is created. And we're liking with the Workday that it's easily trackable with the approval process. So unlike other systems, you can actually see who's up next and who it's pending with. And you can reach out to those users and say, you know, I submitted this request, it's urgent, can you please help me approve it? It allows you all that information in there and easily at your hands. Then the PO is issued to the supplier. This is very important because now within the purchase order within Workday, and I'll show you later, you can see all your related documents that go with that particular purchase order. So if you have a supplier invoice that's attached to the purchase order, you'll see it there. If you have a receipt at all, it's attached to the purchase order, you will see it there as well. And it's very much easily labeled and readable for the end user so they understand, you know, what the actual documents that you're looking at. Then we can also have purchase order acknowledgements or advanced ship notices and receipts. That's what those three acronyms stand for. And a lot of these things in Workday will be automated. So we're using in future state a lot more electronic data interchanges, meaning EDI. So we're electronically communicating with our vendors real time to increase efficiency within our system. So you can start getting information more real time. And then there's the invoice process and payment, and then the settlement run and paid for the supplier. So this is a very standard chevron that shows you the supply chain process from rec to receipt and invoice payment. And before I start demoing, is there any questions?
So you saying the requisition is what now we call like an e-request?
Mm-hmm. So we just have to use the terminology. So e-request and PeopleSoft will be going away, and the requisition is what we're going to be using in the future, and that's what it's called within Workday. Yep.
Is there a way in the new system that if your PO gets to the vendor and then the vendor can't fulfill the order, we'll get notified? Because currently we don't get notified because the vendor cancels the order, and we have no idea our order isn't coming till we inquire about it.
Okay. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. So then if the vendor is a larger vendor and they set up for purchase order acknowledgements and they say they can't fulfill it, if they do an electronic data interchanges with us, they can send the information back and saying, oh, this won't be fulfilled, and that'll automatically show up on your purchase order.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Will there be any change to the like bid waiver or sole source forms that are required?
Those all will still be staying within OnBase for the university, and then for the health system, it's a different system. But they'll be staying within the university on OnBase. Okay. So I'm going to sign into Workday. Let me get my handy dandy demo script out. A raise of hands, how many of you actually attended the Workday 101 or viewed the Workday 101 training? Okay, so then I don't need to go over what everything is on this landing page within Workday. Is there any questions before I get started? Okay. So today, just so you know, so I'm logged in as myself, Lauren Reed, but today I'm gonna be acting as a requisitioner within the Blackwell that I need to order more toiletries and product for actually stocking in my room to meet my customers. So I'm gonna be going through the process, just keep that in mind as I start changing things. So within Workday, there's several ways that you can create a requisition. You can go down here to your procurement, your purchases workbook, and you can either connect to supplier website or request non-catalog items. So it allows you to do different ways to get to your requisition that way. If I go back home on this block O, I can also go down to the requesting goods and services app. We've combined our use cases with other different teams, work streams within the enterprise project, so expenses, supplier invoices, those types of things. And we created this requesting goods and services app, which basically details and outlines different actions that you could be doing. You could be paying an invoice, you could be requesting goods and services, you can be asking for an expense reimbursement. So it housed all the different links and all the different tasks that are in Workday in one single area. So it gives explanation, descriptions of things that you could be doing. Today I'm just going to type in the task of create requisition. And as you can see within Workday, it's more of a Google-like experience, and based on your drop-down of what's populating, it's based on your security rules. So within Workday, obviously, right now, I have a lot of different security rules, but in future state, you might type in create requisition, but you might only see the actual task of create requisition in future state. But it allows you to type in partial information and populate anything that comes with it. So I'm going to click on the create requisition task. And I'm brought to my landing page. So this is the first landing page that you'll see for your create requisition. Everything defaults off of your HR profile. So your company, your requester says logged in as me, Lauren Reed, so it's showing my name, and your currency. So we always usually do business within USD right now. I'm going to ignore the requisition type for the most part, and users don't need to know the requisition type. If there is a special need for one, it'll go to your buyer to help review and then add a certain requisition type. So we're going to hit OK. And then we're brought to this other landing page that kind of just outlines different things. So we make it try to use it user-friendly. That if you want to connect to the marketplace, that you want to connect to supplier website. So that's down here. We try to make it a little bit bigger. If you have requesting items that are non-catalog items, so items that are special requests are not found in the marketplace, you would click that link. For today's this demo purpose, I'm going to connect to supplier website because I'm going to be purchasing utilities that I know I always purchase on a regular basis. And then we're going to connect to our marketplace. So like Jack mentioned earlier, we are still in the environment of demoing and building up our marketplace right now. So it could change before we go live. But we are trying to actively start putting vendors that we currently use, testing out certain types of products that we're purchasing, making sure our feeds of, with the supplier master and our item masters are going on a nightly basis with these, with this particular marketplace. And just making sure that we have everything in our test cases well formed. So here is our marketplace in future state. There's a couple different things that we will have to notice. So you can see that it brings you to a landing page. On this particular landing page, you can search by different items and it'll populate information. So if I type in glove and just hit enter, it populates all the different gloves from there. And then you can also then, from that point, narrow down your list. So let's say I need to order gloves from the University Main Warehouse. If I click on the University Main Warehouse as my supplier, it then narrows it down to 57 gloves. So it allows you to search universally, either by item or by description. For today's purpose, I'm going to type in an item number that I actually know, and review this item. So I need some gloves that are vinyl for cleaning. So I'm going to order them from the University Warehouse, and I know the supplier part number is this, and the price is $33.52 per case. Looks right to me, so I'm going to add this to my cart. So I'm gonna clear my view, and I'm gonna come back over here. I want to show you on the left-hand side, so you can refine your search on the left-hand side by supplier. So if you type in like Marsha's Buckeyes, you can type in half of it, and you click, I want to redo Marsha's Buckeyes. You can see that we have a couple of items in here for them. And we're trying to add more content to each of these items, like pictures, and if it's green, those types of things. We're trying to add all that information into the marketplace. So I'm going to hit my clear view again, and keep on scrolling down so you can see you can search by manufacturer, even some product categories, and then if you know the contract number, it can be down here as well. The marketplace also allows you to have lit lists, so my favorites. So I work at the Blackwell, and I order things on a regular basis. So I create a list. So if I click into my Blackwell supplies list, I can see that I order mouthwash a lot, shampoo a lot, shower gel a lot. These things I need to restock for my customers. So I'm going to add this. It allows me to add these things directly to my cart. So I can increase the quantity right here and add it to my cart. And I can keep on going down and just add each item to my cart at that point. So it allows you to create favorites. The other thing I want to point out is our Roundtrip Suppliers. This is called Roundtrip Suppliers, but they're also called our business-to-business links. So if I click on this, it allows you to populate all the different business-to-business links that we have. So our examples today are Dell, Fisher Scientific, and BWR. So these are sites where you go out to their website, search for items, bring them back in, and then we'll still be going through the same process within Workday. I'm going to go to my cart, and I can review all my different items. So for about $300 worth of items here, I have my gloves, my mouthwash, my shampoo, and my shower gel. Directly from here, I can clear out all my items in my cart and start over if I wanted to. I can trash an individual item if I wanted to, and I can also decrease the quantity. So now I'm down to 210. So everything looks good. This is what I usually want to order. So I'm going to hit submit. So this process now is pulling information from our third-party vendor marketplace back into Workday, and it'll populate information that we need to continue our checkout process. So now that I'm back in Workday, this is my view cart for my requisition. So you can see that the requests are up here, and if I scroll down, I can see my 4 different items that I wanted to order. So my shower gel, my gloves, my mouthwash, and my shampoo. You can go to each of these items and see the different attributes for them. So you can see what spend category might be hitting. So these in future state spend categories, as they go down the process, have impact on your workflows and also impacts on your general ledgers. So meaning that depending on what spend category is used, that's what they're used for account postings in your GLs. You can see the supplier and any additional information. So manufacturer part number. This UNSPSC number is important for supply chain. This is how we categorize our different items within supply chain. So it breaks it down into different manageable groups to go out and do sourcing and bidding. Directly from here, if I forgot to add something, I can go back out to connect to the supplier website and add the item back in and bring it back in to be my 5th item in my cart. I'm just going to hit checkout. So as you can see, it defaulted to address of Blankenship Hall, room 2011. So this is where I sit within Blankenship. So it's connected to my HR. What I want to do is I want to delete this out, and I want to add Blackwell in here. As you can see, then the default ship to address populated here. So we, in future state, want to continue to process and push things through central receiving. And the reason for that is that central receiving in future state will be doing 3-way matching, which allows you to rematch the invoice, the purchase order, and the receipt all together to provide quicker payment of invoices. So then there's less approval needed on the invoice side. We are also setting up linkages, so you can see when I typed in Blackwell that it automatically linked to 2650 Kennedy Road. So I'm going to hit next.
Will that always default then to,
2650.
yeah, or your
Or-
location, your original location, or can you reset the preferences like you can in e-requests now?
So did you mean blanket ship, the first one?
Yes.
So there is it's linked to your HR profile. In your HR profile, there's this request called Change My Workspace. So you then can change your workspace based on where you actually sit within the building. It won't allow you to change buildings because then it becomes tax implications at that point. You have to work with your manager and it has to go through an approval process. But let's say you move from cube 2010 to cube, I don't know, 2050 or something like that. You can then change it at that point. But if you order on behalf of other users, you can then change the address where it's going to, like I did for Blackwell.
Well, I'm just thinking, so for the VMC, they're gonna be a direct, the veterinary hospital is gonna be a direct ship. So everybody using that, the location will be at the dock. So can they default that, so it's always shipped to the dock, or will they always have to change it?
So that we can work with central procurement to identify certain areas where they're not gonna go through central receiving. So as I go down through my information tab, you can see that I can click here for high priority. And I'll do that on the 9X demo. You can do memos to suppliers, so this is the external information that goes out to suppliers, so you can put like a quote number if you have anything here. Your internal memo is your business purpose, so in e-request today you do have a business purpose, this is required for future state as well. So I'm going to put in here restocking of supplies for customers. Workday does allow you to do attachments, but I'll do that in my next demo as well, as we do on non-catalog. And then we have line default. So you can also then populate information to show up on multiple different lines. So this particular requisition, I had 4 different lines here. So I want to make my requested date for all those different items next week. I also want to change my work tags because my work tags are associated with me, with the OCIO, but I want to charge it to the Blackwell. So you can do different work tag defaults. You can see here your work tags are chart fields and current state. So chart fields in PeopleSoft, these are your org numbers, your funds, your functions. You can change this within Workday. So for this purpose, I'm working at the Blackwell, so I need to change it from my cost center to the Blackwell cost center. What I want you to be aware of is that when I change it to the business Blackwell other operations, you can see that the fund, balancing and function will change, or could change. You can see that based on this particular cost center that is used, all these other work tags automatically default and change. Here in additional work tags, this is where you add a project number, a grant number, a program number, if there's additional work tags that you need to be putting on your transaction. So I'm going to hit next. And this basically is my review and submit page. This just basically then gives me an overview of everything that I've done. So I can look at my items. So I have 4 different items here. I can see my item descriptions, my supplier item identifiers, my spend categories that automatically default due to the unspec code that was used. I can see my suppliers, my quantity, my unit of measure, unit of cost, extended amount. You can see my requested deliver date defaulted to 10/17 based on the prior page. And then you can also see my deliver to changed and my ship to changed. And then my cost centers changed based on what I used in the default in the prior page as well. So you just review all your additional information. You can save for later if you want to come back to it. But for this purpose, I'm going to hit submit.
Is there a way to change the delivery date, like if you need it expedited for overnight or?
Yep, on the prior page, I actually chose a week out, but you can say next day. You can see that up next is my cost center manager, and you're like, who is my cost center manager? So if I go to the details and processes within Workday, and I go down to my process, you can see actually who is pending with and next. You can see we have several different cost center managers set up within Workday, and it's pending one of these, pending all these people. So whoever gets to it first then approves it and keeps on moving down the chain. So it allows clarity and confirmation of what where your request is. So I created a requisition earlier this week, and I did an advance trip notice with it, I did receipt, I did all my supplier invoice. So I want to show you what it looks like when a purchase order comes in and it has all its documents attached to it. So I'm going to go to my purchases worklet. And you can see on the right hand side we have requisitions. This is a report that you can use. So if I click on it, it defaults to the Ohio State University. And then I'm going to put it out. I created it earlier this week, so I want to check the status. So it's very simple, company and document date. You can add additional supplier, different information in here, and narrow down your criteria if you're searching for a requisition that you did like a year ago. So I'm going to hit OK. If I view my report, I can see that I submitted several different requisitions this week. As you notice, the requisition I submitted earlier this week on 10/8, that's the one I'm looking for, was for the same similar suppliers, Gilchrist and Simmons and University Warehouse. You can see they created 2 different purchase orders because they actually had to go to 2 different suppliers. So it allows you to submit one requisition, but then break it out into different suppliers and their different options. So I'm going to go into this purchase order 978 and check on it. So you can see that here's my purchase order number and the status is issued. Just to let everybody know, this is a little bit of terminology difference. In PeopleSoft today it's dispatched, and Future State it's issued. So it's just little things that we have to get used to. So you can see the overall summary, the Ohio State University, who the supplier is, my document date, so when I actually created it, any payment terms or header information of the bill to address and the ship to address. If I keep on scrolling down, I can see all the different information that's very similar to what's on a requisition. So you have your item descriptions, spend categories, unit of measures. You can see in the quantity box though, this is interesting, that you see that you ordered one, you've received one, and you've been invoiced one. So you know that there's all this matching is happening. And I keep on scrolling over. I can then go to my business document lines, and then you can see all the different related business documents. So I had a purchase order acknowledgement that was submitted by the supplier. I have a receipt for the purchase order. I have my requisition right here, and then I have my supplier invoice as well. So it allows you to have all the documents that pertain to this particular purchase order in one area. So if I go into the receipt, you can see that it's been approved, and you can go to the information tab and see when the actual receipt date was. So the receipt date was 10/8. Let's say you haven't received it yet and it's been a week. You can even at that point reach out to your counterparts in receiving to see where your actual package might be. So at this point, I'm going to stop here for a break and then questions. So is there any questions on what I've just gone over?
So who does invoice for like approvals, that still go back to the person that actually did the requisition? Is that gonna be the same way like it is now?
So if you buy things and you ship it through central receiving, and central receiving actually receives it, and the invoice matches to the purchase order dollar amount, nobody's gonna have to approve it because it's gonna go through a matching process.
So we're trying to send everything through central receiving. Like I order a lot of plants and stuff, and I can't handle what I order.
So if it goes directly to you, then you're gonna have to approve to make sure that you actually receive the goods or services that you required. But if you send it through central receiving, it does a 3-way match automatically, and it allows it to pay.
Lauren, what was the question?
About approving an invoice on the backside. Yep.
Just to clarify a few things, so, University Main Warehouse is going to be the new name for OSU stores.
We don't know the naming convention just yet, but that's what we've set up in the system. We would like to have them in a system altogether.
Okay, and then, you know how currently we have the Blocko symbol and it's a preferred item that we need to buy? Will there be some type of symbol to let us know what's a preferred item?
We are working with our third-party marketplace vendor right now to develop all those different indicators of preferred item, green, those types of things.
Okay, and then the requested delivery date, it showed how we had to add one. It won't default, we do have to pick one.
Correct. It won't default in, but I mean, if you want to choose, if they don't default anything, then the supplier will ship it to whenever they have the product.
But will it move past that, or is that a required field that if you don't put a date in?
It is not a required field.
Okay, and then, by any chance, because people always want things immediately, if we did put in like right away, like the next day that they wanted it, is there any way that any type of shipping costs or additional expenses will be added to the order because we've requested it sooner?
That's always a possibility with suppliers.
Okay, and then, you wrote in the internal memo space that you were basically replenishing supplies?
Yep,
Will that be the equivalent of a business purpose?
that is.
Okay,
And we have a hard stop, we have configured a hard stop within Workday that required field needs to populate information in there. So it's an internal memo. So basically, if you get to the last screen, you try to submit it and you haven't filled anything in, it won't let you to submit it any past that, and it'll alert you to say, please indicate that you need to add an internal memo, which is your business purpose.
okay, and then, for the favorites list that we can create for the items that we're always gonna be ordering, is there a way that we'll be notified if like there's a better item available and at a lower price? Because if we just live off our favorite list, we might miss a better item.
That's a good question, we'll have to take that back. They can't automatically update, but we'll have to bring that back to our procurement team.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Will this time you out, is there like a timeout feature like there is currently?
There is a timeout feature. So the question was, is there a timeout feature? Yes, there is. I don't remember how long it is. It's 15, 20 minutes or something. It's whatever it is currently, and that's because of security.
Alright, and then will you be able to copy previous ones? Like I do like annual memberships, or if somebody's going to the same training every year, or whatever. It's just nice to copy the previous one, change the dates.
There is a feature within Workday. We haven't enabled it too much just because we don't want people copying like old orders that are like, how do I put it, from the marketplace, where pricing could change, because the pricing doesn't update automatically. Yep.
More worried about the training and conferences and stuff like that.
Okay. Yep.
Could I expand on what you were saying earlier? If we ship direct, can the requester change to the two-way match, or is that always going to be three-way?
So match rules work differently within Workday than compared to PeopleSoft. So on PeopleSoft side, and I'm assuming you're noting the two-way match, three-way match that is at the bottom or at the header.
Yeah.
What PeopleSoft does, the matching is not connected and directly embedded within the purchase order. It's another system, it's another process on the back side. So we have taken certain ship-to areas and counted those as three-way match, certain types of spend categories, those are three-way match, and then we have put it back together that way. So if it ships directly to an end user, and then it's not part of that central list, meaning stores and receiving, dome, those type of things where they are actually receiving and putting it in the system, then it'll go to a two-way match.
In terms of approvals, you mentioned cost center manager, which is a finance role. Is there any approvals for like a director or anybody from a, this should be blocked for our business, or is it really strictly within the finance side?
So there is ability depending on who's in the workflow. So we have enabled people like I don't know if you've heard of it, your department leader. I think those are your chairs. Those are the second level of approval. So anything that's over $2,500 or on $200 on a high risk spend category, meaning like I think business meals, those types of things, have to be approved by another level within your college or organization. If you have other people that you want to ad hoc in, you can do that, but we have to name those roles within there. So if you want to ad hoc it to another cost center manager or another department leader, we can do that, but you just can't ad hoc it to anybody. Yep.
And I just have another question about items being shipped directly to an area. for the invoice part of it now, like sometimes it's on the voucher work list, somebody has to go in and actually approve the invoice. Are they just now confirming delivery and that's what prompts the payment, or is somebody actually going in then, is that end user going in to approve the invoice itself?
The end user will show, and Jack helped me out here because this is outside my work stream. But from what I know, if it's a two-way match, it's going back to the requisition requester. So I would be that person today. In today's example, it would go into their inbox, which is up here in the right-hand corner, for them to approve that invoice that they actually received those goods or services that were provided to them. Because we figure those are the people that know the best that they actually receive it because they are requesting it.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So services as well, right? So
Yes.
if you're creating requisitions for services, consulting services or whatever, we're gonna rely on you guys to tell us whether that's been satisfactory.
And is that on all invoices, or is that on a certain threshold dollar?
It's on all invoices that aren't three-way matched. So meaning like the products that I ordered for today go through central receiving and they actually receive it in the system, the invoice that was populated in here, I wouldn't have to approve because it's the purchase order, the invoice amount match, the PO amount match, and the receipt quantity all match. So I wouldn't have to approve anything.
Yeah, we've really focused on eliminating like what I would call non-value added approvals. So the approval is up front on your requisition to spend the money. So that if you get an invoice and everything matches out, there's really no reason for somebody to say, yep, looks good, whatever, moved on, because we've already approved it on the front end. It's those cases where we're not doing the controlled receipts or the controlled match rules, where we rely on people out of the departments to say, hey, did you really get this, and is there any issues, is it okay to pay, right? And really, it just workflows into your inbox at the top there, and it's just a quick, yep, everything looks good, I got what I needed, it matches the requisition, everything's fine, and away we go. So, what we're trying to do is get out of that routing things for approval, when you can do a quick report to audit and find like what you're spending and all that other stuff on the backside. So, and you can do a lot of that stuff right here.
Yes.
I just have a question. Do you anticipate this system reducing the lost discounts received with our vendors that we get a discount with?
So like the early pay discounts, those types of things, yes. There's a bunch of different things that are being implemented as well as just Workday. So they have the OCR scanning, which is, I don't know what it stands for, optical
Character recognition.
Yes, so scanning of your invoices to make it quicker for people who aren't hand keying everything in. This also electronic data interchanges, so basically a good is shipped out and then an invoice is sent in at the same exact time, basically. So a lot of these different automations are happening as we go live with our enterprise projects to make things more streamlined and more efficient. To also capture those early pay discounts.
Yeah, and in addition to what we've done from a leadership perspective at Ohio State and the health system, is they've collaborated together to define 7 payment terms for the university going forward. Instead of having, 1,000 or whatever, we got 45 or whatever they are today. Really, there's going to be a set of payment terms without discounts attached, and there's going to be a set of payment terms with 1%, 3%, and I can't remember what the third one is, but there's 7 payment terms going forward for Ohio State. Now, we are going to have to convert in all payment terms that exist at go live, but the process that we're going to go through to clean that up is, as we go negotiating contracts, our payment terms are going to be one of those 7. If you want to give us a discount, here's our favorable term. If you're not, here's what we're going to default you to, right? And the default's actually going to probably push 60 days, except for some exceptions, like research has a 30-day, like they can't bill until they go out. So we've got some pockets throughout the university where 30 days and then immediate are still payment terms where we use it, but overall, for the critical pieces and just standard payment terms, probably going to say, okay, we're going to pay, in 60 days to give them incentive to give us discounts to pay them quicker. So that'll be part of the strategic sourcing process as we go and renegotiate our contracts with our suppliers.
Is AP, I'm sorry, go
Is this process the same as, you know, creating a PO for a huge contractor?
It is, but it allows different levels of approval. So like, the workflow, what you saw today, it just went to my cost center manager, and that's probably who it's only gonna go to for the entire workflow. But if you are doing a consulting agreement with a large contractor, this dollar threshold, it's gonna have to go to all these other approvals within the system. But since it's a smaller dollar amount, it kind of bypasses all of them and goes out the door.
Because then, like, say monthly, they work so many hours and, you know, right now it goes straight over to accounts payable, but then it comes back to say, okay, this is, you know, you have to match it up, like in my instance with the auditor of state and all that kind of thing. That makes sense?
Yeah, it's all on my desk.
Okay, it's awesome.
Yes.
This question might actually be similar to the previous one. So for example, blanket POs where you pre-agreed to a certain dollar amount and you're, say, invoice monthly, are all of those invoices going to show up under the primary blanket request? Like, can I go back and review those invoices? Okay. And second question, you mentioned the inbox a few times. Is that actually going to sync to, for example, Outlook email? Like, will I get email reminders like you have receipts that you need to approve?
I'm gonna have to look to somebody else to answer that question. I don't know, because that's an overall enterprise, like, that's just not me deciding that.
Yeah, right now, that's the tenant-wide setting, and it's not in scope to link it without Microsoft Outlook. Your inbox is separate in Workday from your Outlook email box, and really, this is gonna be where you're gonna go in to do your work and to see that stuff. One of the conversations that we're having is, you know, should we link it with Microsoft email or not? But going live, probably right now, we're not going to sync it with Outlook.
So no email reminders of any kind?
Well, all your reminders and notifications will come in through Workday. So you'll be in Workday to receive your notifications and your reminders here. They're not gonna populate it Outlook. And part of the reason is one, inundating people with more email than you already got today, and two, we want to make sure that if you're in here and you get a notification, it's a notification that you're meant to see, right? So we wanted to draw a distinction project-wide to make sure that let's get in here, let's not connect it to Outlook, and then future state, maybe we can take a look down the road to see what we can do.
Since you brought up inbox, since you brought it in, I was gonna save it until the next demo, but I'll just show you now. So within your inbox within Workday, it's kind of similar to your work list. So everything here is populated for everything that we do within Workday. So on the university side, it could be like time leave, timekeeping, or HR, somebody's requesting time off. Everything's going to be going through your inbox. For those approvers that are cost center managers, department leaders, those approvals will go through your inbox as well. So you'll be working your inbox, should be working your inbox almost every day, because that's your main source of where your work is going to be coming from. But if you go into here, you can also create filters. So if I'm a buyer and I want to look at all my high priority requisitions, I can just click on high priority, and it basically populates then any information on high priorities I have. I have none right now, obviously, but if I do any requisitions for the cost center or the OCIO, I can do it that way. So it allows you then to create and custom configure your own different inbox filters based on what your role is at the university.
And one of the benefits of doing the Workday inbox notification is we're going to trigger notifications to multiple people so that there's coverage in case somebody is out of the office. And then whoever approves it first, then it would get retracted from the other person's inbox. Unlike if we sent you an email, where it would still be sitting in your inbox and you'd be like, do I still need to do something? I was off. What's going on?
So once you do it, it drops off the list.
It then goes into your archive.
So if you make a mistake in request, such as today, attach a quote or a copy of something that needs to be seen by the approvers, you're not going to get notification. You have to actually go back into Workplace to find out that it was not approved if the approver doesn't alert you in an email or a call or something.
So the approver, if they are expecting you to have a quote on there, they can send it back to you and say, please attach a quote that goes with this particular request.
But will that be? That would only be in this inbox, not anywhere else, nothing expected. Right now, if I get denied or an approval, they both show up in my inbox, you know, this has been approved or this has been denied, so I can immediately go back into e-request and find out what I needed to do that I missed. Will that occur right now, or is it something where only if I go into Workplace will I find, or I think the correct name? Workday, to find that this approval was not it was a denial.
Yeah, and that's where we're working with our cities. We're trying to find a happy medium, because we don't want to put every time a requisition is approved, send it back notification back to somebody, because there's some people that submit hundreds of requisitions, those types of things. There is also a thought of creating, you know, on the backside of the purchase order was created from this particular requisition. So we do have the ability to set up notifications. We just don't want to inundate people with all these different notifications. We need to run a report and say, is it successfully completed? What's my status of it? Those types of things. Because we notice that people, after a while, just start ignoring their inboxes.
But if your question is, and I couldn't hear your question 100%, you get an email today, though, telling you whether it's approved or not?
Correct, and I oftentimes use forget to attach, and by the time you get there, you put in your account codes and you hit send, and, you know, last time the denial comes back saying you wait for the attachment on. But, and I go into e-request maybe 2-3 times a week is all. Most mine's done through a in-person program through Dining Services. So if they don't send me an email with this new system, I'm not gonna know until I go back into Workday for another thing.
Yeah, right now, the notifications and the work is happening here in Workday. It's not currently attached. So that would be a change, correct?
In the car chairs, as we're used to getting emails saying they have something to approve, that would be a function.
It would be,
The thought is that we're doing a lot of different things within Workday. We're combining all these different systems together, so that more than likely, most people will be logging in on a daily basis. Maybe.
If you have a purchase order number with a vendor, and will Workday help keep track of that purchase, that PO amount that you've applied towards it?
what
So,
was the question?
So if you have a purchase order with a vendor that's worth $100,000, and I'm in 4 months past the fiscal year, can I look at Workday to see how much money has been charged towards that PO?
you can, there are balances within Workday, so if I go back into find requisitions and show you the one I was doing before, check it out. The balances will show up on Workday as here. So you can see that I have an obligation amount, I have a liquidated amount and amount remaining. So this account, so even though I have an invoice and it hasn't been liquidated yet. So it hasn't been paid by the supplier, by our university yet. Yep.
To go back to an earlier question about the copy function that we currently have in eRequest. Right now, when you copy an eStores order, it copies, you know, the business purpose and the chart field, but it doesn't copy the item that you selected out of the eStores catalog.
Okay.
Which is really helpful. As you said, the prices do change.
Yep.
So I rely on the copy function all the time. For example, I have 20 stipend research participants that I pay $1,000 stipend payment to 10 months out of the year. So that's 200 transactions. So the easiest way is to copy that e-request, because their vendor information is in there, their address. I just have to update that this is payment 12 as opposed to payment 11, but everything's in there, the chart filled, everything.
Okay.
And then, it's such a time-saving feature. It is just really something, if we could keep, it would be amazing. It really
Okay,
would.
we'll take that feedback back.
Thank you.
On a kind of related note, a lot of documentation on past activity, copies of invoices, quotes, contracts, and all that is stored in e-request. Will we continue to have read-only access to e-request for a while?
I'll look at somebody else for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a period of time where that stuff's gonna be available, but that stuff's all gonna get moved into a different data repository for historical reporting. So based on like tentative revision schedules and stuff like that, you'll have access to it. It may not be in e-request itself, but there'll be another platform by which we can go and get historical data and stuff back. As we can do. The answer is yes. Just not necessarily request.
Okay, we have time for one or two more questions.
Like I said, I work for dining services. We do all of our purchasing through our primary vendors through what's called Seaboard. It's an ordering inventory program. Will that be linked to Workday too, like the way eventually occurred with e-request? When e-request came out, they linked Seaboard, so all my purchases automatically went to e-request, automatically went to accounting from there. Or am I going to be back where I was 10 years ago and have to enter all my food purchases into Workday to have that go properly through accounting afterwards?
I don't, what was the system name?
We use Seaboard, that's all dining services for like US Foods and from our produce vendors, et cetera.
You go out to their site right now to order?
No, it's in Seaboard. Most of which is the ordering program. Some were linked in Seaboard, where when I enter the order in there and it's transmitted, it automatically goes to their system and orders. The other ones, I put it in there just with record processing, and then I still have to call them. But currently, any transaction I process in Seaboard automatically is done through e-request or whatever program to get it through the accounting process, so it's reported properly. At the beginning of e-request, and dining services was one of the test programs with that originally, I had to go back and every transaction I did in Seaboard, I had to go back and do a blanket PO purchase request in e-request for that to account for it in that part of the process. Are we gonna have to do that again at least at the beginning of the workday until we get things linked, or is it gonna be linked at the beginning?
We'll take an action and go follow up on that. I don't have an answer for you on that right away, so we'll put it on the parking lot and we'll make sure we get the answer.
Right, I appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, and then when we come back, I'm gonna show you the non-catalog request process. Allow for additional questions, and then we'll close it out. Thank you.
My question, within the scope of the administration.
But one is going to be subject, so we're looking to spend time.
So it's already there, I just have to keep track of the POs to make sure I'm not forgetting. But like I said, 10 years ago, the request was, I had to go back, I worked for US Foods, paper food guys, I had to go to e-request on the paper. And one of the
So you want to call
Which would do. But plans are for us to still be able to kind of do things as we do now.
I don't know.
They're gonna do away with those? I'm happy now. So how, so, okay, so we'll just issue, make the call and then we'll just
automatically does, whether it was
And
actually
then you
going
would get a
through
copy of
the
the
request or
invoice
what you're
email
saying, where it just
verify.
anything.
Okay, so in our inbox,
Outside my email. Well, I no longer had to do the
I hope it goes out. Because then if we can, let's say, it's, you know, right now we're using MWI storage cabinet quite a bit. It seems to be one much you can. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then, you know, we've got the process down to placing it early in the morning, can't get the approval, and it's business happening. But let's say it was things like, you know, those types of things. We'll be able to place that order
That was the third of
online.
each day.
And at some point, we'll see an invoice pop up.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Inbox in a perfect world, and then either myself, we can list who all the people like it, with myself, Josh, and Brooke, as people will see those invoices, and verify we got everything. If one of us or both of us are out, and then they can approve it, and we're done. No, what we're saying, we can process it online, like a PO. That's, they're still working on that process, but it would cut out the step of having to do like this. Right. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Adam would be how to scan. He'll be receiving all of our stuff. And we'll just verify that.
But it doesn't have to go.
You're gonna be in the marketplace, but then when it gets to, something
No, we're.
so it's not to say that Fisher Science, if it doesn't have to go to the marketplace, what they do, there's Fisher Science stuff in there. But let's say, Fisher Science did it.
To allow us to be a state satellite store. Which has a memo.
What does Fisher Science do?
Oh, all of them.
So it's just another layer of and then so the marketplace, we have one person then there's non-capital.
Or so someone gets a 15,
Layers of
large piece of equipment.
I don't think you should like process it.
Oh, we'll see. Easy that March, Workday in July, hospitalization in August. Or, in my case, retirement. See ya. Sounds like you'll be peacing out with it. That's a whole other demonstration.
Every time I do.
All right, well, if we can do a blanket order releases, I'll cut out a lot of what we do. Or, you know, it's on really Fine. Yeah, who knows, what's that?
Thank you.
So I would imagine Brandy and be having meetings, like we get yeah, that was gonna be my question. Some people were kind of dancing around it. If we're gonna be able to set up.
A lot of them people are using their vendors' website to go watch stuff. So it's like they just create a blank purchase order for like $500.
Well, that was the whole issue with the MWI budget. They don't have to, so long before we ever started that, I got talked to the guy over at the store. I can't.
All right, we're gonna get started.
The ability to be responsive.
Rowdy Carl in the back.
Fearless leader.
Is this mic on? Can you hear me?
This is my children.
My 3-year-old. What?
She's like, go sit down.
Okay, I'll wait another minute, seconds. Okay. For the second half of this demo, we're gonna go into more the non-catalog request process. So this is how you're gonna request goods and services that you've already gone out to the marketplace, you can't find them, so then you need to request a non-catalog goods and service. With these specific types of requests, they'll be workflowing from, you'll create it in the system, and then you'll also though go to a buyer, either your service center buyer or central buyer, depending on your thresholds, to review your particular purchase that you're doing. So they will be able to help and assist you. So if you don't know what kind of widget you want to purchase, they can help and assist you to find that widget. So as we go into the requisition process, you can see that I'm going to be doing very similar things at the beginning, but then it's going to change based because I'm doing a non-catalog request. So in this particular scenario, I'm a research assistant and I'm requesting lab supplies for one of our vendors. And I know I have a quote already, so I need to attach it and add those particular items to my request. If you don't, like I said, know all the items you need to be requesting, you can type in descriptions and then the buyer will be able to reach out to you and ask, what kind of things are you actually looking for? So I'm going to go back into create requisition task. You can see that it defaulted again to my company, my requester, and that's fine. So for this particular purpose, I already connected to the supplier website. I can't find what I wanted to look for, so I log back out and I'm going to create a non-catalog request of items. So this is requesting non-catalog items. The item that I want to purchase is a beaker, and it's a certain customizable beaker that I want to order. So it's a good. The item description for this particular purpose, I go to my quote, and I actually received it from my vendor. So I did a dummy quote, a sample quote, for this particular purpose today. So I can see that they provided me with the item number, if I can spell specialized, description, unit price. So I'm going to go through my requisition and basically mirroring everything that's on this quote. So I'm going to go and I'm going to type in specialized custom beakers with 12 ounces. And there's a case of 12.
Now, are you doing a non-catalog request because this item isn't in the Fisher Scientific eStores catalog?
Yes, just ignore that I used Fisher.
Okay.
I chose a supplier that we have in the system, so. But yes, if you, let's say you even buy it from Fisher and it's not in you went to the catalog, you can't find a catalog. You went to business link, punch out, you can't find it in there. So you reach out to your local rep and you say, I can't find any of these items, and she says, oh hey, it's actually a customized item, we're gonna get you a quote for it. That's when they need to submit a request. So my item number is FIS 123456, spend category. So you can see that the red asterisk requires you to enter in a spend category. We in procurement have felt that, an end user might not always know what spend category to put in here. Even though we've tried to make our spend categories more user friendly, so I can type in lab supplies. When I populate it, it actually comes up with different lab supplies. So lab supplies, scientific instruments, and lab supplies, scientific supplies. So I would probably pick that one. But our end users a lot of times don't know. So we've come up with this office use only use. So we've created a spend category that has no account posting rules. So a end user can put in this spend category if they don't know what spend category to use. Then it'll workflow to the buyer to review and actually assign the appropriate spend category to that particular item. So if I just type that in, you can see that it came in. So here you can enter in your supplier. If you don't know your supplier, you can submit the request without a supplier being needed. If you do know your supplier, you can enter it in here. The quantity, I just need one of these. Unit cost, it was $35 for the case. And I'm just going to put in CAS. Oops. From here, from the drop down, if you don't actually know what type of unit of measure to use, just use each. So I'm going to add to my cart. And then I'm going to hit checkout because I'm only ordering one item today. Review my item. This is the basic information that you need to put into your request for non-catalog item. If you want to keep on adding more items, you can do more request on catalog items, or you can connect the supplier website to add additional items. I'm just going to hit checkout. I'm going to leave it blanket ship for this particular purpose right now. And I'm going to hit next. This is where I'm going to check high priority, so I'm going to let my buyer know that and my cost center managers that they need to review this particular request urgently. My memos is to my supplier. This is where I put in my quote number. It was 789 from the quote, and my internal memo purpose. So these are specialized features needed for testing research supplies. So I'm going to hit next. And this is where I can actually attach my quote. So I'm going to hit my select files. You can drag and drop if you have multiple screens, but I don't. So today I'm just going to select my files from my desktop. I have my example quote. You can see it uploaded here. You can put in a comment here if you want to put in quote what it is, so 79. You can also see this external button here. If you click the external button, if the document is actually going out and being printed or sending out to the supplier portal or being emailed to a supplier, the quote will actually go with the actual purchase order. So then there's always an attachment with it. By line default, so I'm going to do a requested delivery date of next week, or it might take 2 weeks for it to come in. I'm not going to do any of my defaults. I'm just going to let it default into my OCIO cost centers. So then I go down to review and submit. So you can see that I put an item description in here, supplier item identifier. I chose my spend category, my unit of measure, unit cost. You can see that it's defaulted to blanket ship because that's where I sit, and my ship to address of 2650 because I want to come through central receiving, and then my cost center and additional work tags. So these are all my chart fields in current state. So you can also, on this particular order, let's say you're splitting it with a grant project, you can do splits here as well. You can do a split amount or by quantity. If I did amount, I could say that I want like $15 on one line, and $20 on the other line. So then you can add a grant work tag over here if you would like to. So it allows you to search different work tags that are allowed on this transaction. So if you have the grant number, you can type in the grant number right away. It populates within your additional work tags and your additional cost centers and balancing units all come together. But I'm not going to do my splits. I'm just going to hit submit. and you see that my cost center manager is up next. So it's a very simple process for submitting a non-catalog request. On the university side, the cost center manager is up next. It allows them to review the transaction, edit any chart fields if they need to, and then it goes on to your buyers, which are your service center buyers first, to review and take a first pass at it. And if it hits a certain dollar threshold, then it will go to central buyer to review and approve. Is there any questions?
So if someone's buying, so like I work in dentistry, so we have stuff that frequently isn't in the contract just because we're the only ones in the university who use it. And sometimes we have to use specialized vendors. So what if someone's buying something that has different spend categories? Like, can that be put into the system on one request, or would they have?
You mean different lines have different spend categories?
Right.
Oh, yes. So on my previous transaction in Marketplace, you can see the first one was gloves. The other ones were, I think, categorized as supplies in other areas.
Non-catalog item.
They can do you can do the same thing. You can't split one line with different spend categories, but you can have one line be dentistry, I don't know, implants, and then another one be dentistry supplies.
And they'll, when it bills, will, like, let's say the amount is a little different, so now when an invoice comes in, if the amounts are off, it charges us based on the invoice percentages. Will it be smart enough in the future to bill by the amount of each line or not?
I will have to follow up on that, but there's a supplier accounts issue area that handles most of the invoicing questions, so we can bring that up to them.
If you have a 100-line PO, you have to enter all of that line information with the supplier and all that each time you add a line?
You don't have to. There is also those defaults, those line defaults that I showed you. So you can default a deliver to, or an order from, an order, the one you want it to ship, you can put in there. You can put a supplier in and it defaults all the way down. And then you can also put in your cost centers and it defaults all the way down. So you really just have to enter in the generic information for each line, and then you can default in other information.
Would you mind showing how you split the chart fill again to charge more than one?
So I'm going to go into my create requisition again. Actually, I'm just going to go into the one I just did. So your split chart fields can either happen on two different areas. So you can go into your line defaults, like Justin, I think. Great. So you do? Okay. You were asking earlier about the requested delivery date and the supplier. You can put all this information. These lines will default all the way down below. You can do split work tags as well and default all the way down to every single work tag. So you can do percentage and cost center. So you put in the percentage amount here. If you only have one line, though, you can just go to the review and submit portion of it. And if I keep on scrolling over, it says splits up here in this column. If I click on this 0, and I can split by amount or quantity. And if I do amount, like I said, I can do $15 and $35. And then let's say, I'll try to find a grant to put it on. Maybe. This wasn't in my script, so I'm trying. you can see that it applied to this grant over here, and then the additional work tags resulted. This grant might not be fully set up in the system, that's why it's still showing it for this cost center, but most of the grants, when we've chosen them, default on the other cost center is bouncing in fund and functions that go with it. But this allows you to split it.
How are we gonna do internal purchases?
We mean internal purchases within internal suppliers.
Yeah.
They're all gonna be done the same way. So,
Union or European?
yeah, so we're gonna try to start housing all those different internal suppliers within Workday. We have started conversations with those larger ones, like Uniprint, those types of people about integrations within Workday and making sure that we have them in the marketplace. For the smaller ones, we're still just gonna have them in the Workday. What's gonna happen is there's a different work stream called customer accounts that you can get in touch with that does the internal billing on the backside.
Oh.
Is my quote gonna still be part of Workday?
Yes.
And are those processed as non-catalog items then, or?
So we're still testing that out right now. We've run into some hiccups, but we're testing that out.
Can you speak to what key card
I can't.
purchase?
If you're talking about requisitions that go through a service center and the service center then prepares them on a P card, I can speak to that. If you're just talking about you on the university side of the department, order something on your department P card and submit for an expense, I cannot.
Oh, so that's a different process.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes. So it goes back to the Requesting Goods and Services Act. There is an expense portion of it where you can submit an expense. But we can also get in touch with those user reviews or documentation, anybody.
So how will that work then if we currently use the service center for our P-card transaction? Will that be in non-catalog or is it its own separate?
So if you're ordering off a P card, it'll go through the non-catalog process. The buyer then will assign a P card type, a requisition type of P card. Allows it to workflow through. Then what they do is they source it to other, and then they log the expense.
What about convenience orders?
Those, look at Jack.
What was the question?
Convenience orders.
Now, convenience orders are handled through a different process in Workday. It's going to be a supplier invoice request process. That's also part of that requesting goods and services platform. That's actually handled by our supplier accounts.
That in-depth session, so we've had a lot of questions around supplier accounts, AP or supplier maintenance. When we had a more in-depth user preview in that area just last week. So hopefully next week I can get that all cleaned up and I'll have it posted on the Enterprise Project website under that resources. If you want to go in and view and learn a little bit more, it'll be out there for you if you want to take a look. Hopefully I'll get it done next week.
Yes.
So maybe I should listen to that first. But, for the invoice matching for the ones that you're not going through the marketplace, it's less likely the invoice is going to match, have that three-way match by the lines on the PO.
Why though?
Well, a lot of our invoices don't come in with the same thing that's on the PO description. So I would think it would be less likely that that PO is going to match exactly to the invoice. And I'm just wondering where those invoices that don't match, the system can't match, where they're going to bounce back to.
So they'll go through your match exception process and we'll go more detail in the supplier accounts. Okay. Any more questions? All right, I'm going to hand it back over to Jack.
Jack, just a little summary, we'll see if we have any more questions. See, I told you I was going to take it till 4:30. Oh,
Seaboard.
Ah, okay.
It's not cyborg.
Sometimes it feels like one.
I was going to say, sometimes you guys probably feel like it is, right?
Yep.
trying not to make you guys hang out till 4:30, but we do want to make sure that you guys get at least the questions that we can answered. Get it on the parking lot to get you some responses back once we go chase that down. Obviously, we'd love to be able to answer every single question you have. However, sometimes it's just not possible. So just wanted to kind of summarize what you guys have seen. We really only focused today on just the buying experience for goods and services, and how we gave you an inside glimpse of the marketplace. When we were out there, you saw that we don't have all the pictures in yet. It doesn't look nice and pretty, but the platform itself is going to be the same. The process by which we get out there will be the same, and then how we kind of execute the requisitions are the same. We wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we weren't taking your ability away to order anything, including off a P-card. We do have workflows set up to handle P-card purchases. It's just, there's going to be some different ways of getting things in Workday. There's more than one way. So think of your e-request today when you go out there and you click your P-card radio button or your e-stores button or whatever. That's really what that requesting goods and services app is going to do. It'll take you to those different places within Workday to have you execute those processes, okay? So what we've tried to do as a project team is make it easy and simple for you guys to have everything right there in one place. Now, as we go through training, you guys will get familiar with the different functions that happen within that worklet or that app. It's called an application on the requesting goods and services. So then by the time we go live, you guys will have a pretty firm grip of, hey, when I need to do this, I go here. When I need to do this, or when I'm looking for this, I need to go there, right? But at the same time, you'll be able to pick and choose what you need to do and how to do it. Again, the biggest thing that's changing, it's one way to shop for goods and services. We do have two different methods within that one way to shop, but we're really trying to let people go out to the marketplace and use our contracted vendors, use our inventory, our internal suppliers first. And if you can't find it, that's when the non-catalog stuff comes in. Now, I will be honest with you, if you saw the non-catalog stuff, looked a little bit more labor intensive than it did for the catalog, right? Well, our hope is that that's the exception, not the rule, right? So if you go out to the catalog, you should be able to have things up and then you can pull stuff down and make that requisition process go a lot quicker. But we know we're not going to house everything everybody needs all the time. So we have to make sure that we give you guys another method by which you can get it. But what we wanted, the biggest key thing that we were focused on was how do we maximize our user experience. And as Chris said this morning, we had very lofty goals going into this project of what our user experience wanted to look like. We didn't get 100% of everything that we wanted now, but our commitment to you guys is as we go live and even post go live, we're still working to refine these processes and make them better, which is the good thing. Again, it's back to that continuous improvement. We have the opportunity to continue to change the system and upgrade the system and enhance the system going forward. So I'm kind of excited about that because it's going to keep us all busy as we travel on throughout our employment here at Ohio State. The other thing too, the one thing that I really wanted to highlight was you don't have to go to 50 million different systems now to get information. A lot of the stuff that you're looking for is integrated. It's right there at your fingertips. If you need to find a report or you need to see something, it's either embedded in one of the transactions that you're working in, or there's a quick find suppliers or find spend or find something that you can go look in Workday, get the data that you need right at your fingertips. And you don't have to go ask your data analyst anymore, hey, can you go create me this complex report? A lot of times you're going to be able to get it right away with what you need. So again, just like anything else, like when you buy a new car or a used car, it's a little different to you at first, but after times of driving it, you get a couple hours behind the wheels, you start to figure out its quirks and its advantages and stuff like that. So this is nothing different. We promise it's not going to wreck and break down on you. We'll make sure that we've got it up and running for you guys to be able to do it. It's not exactly the same that you guys are used to, and we're not going to be shy about that. However, I think we are starting to position the university and you guys in particular to be successful and to spend your time more wisely doing more strategic things for your units and departments rather than just banging keys all day. So I'll give everybody one last chance to ask any questions you got. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I have one up front.
What is the transition gonna be like? Are you gonna shut off e-request one day and start Workday at the same time? Or is there gonna be, things that are in e-request that haven't been completed that need to be duplicated and re-entered into Workday?
That is a great question. You get 5 gold stars for asking that question. So the question she asked is, what does that transition period look like? Is it just gonna shut off e-request and PeopleSoft? Are we just gonna jump into Workday on day one? The answer is yes, 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 and yes, right? So there's going to be a process, and we're working on a deployment plan and our move to production plan. We know there's going to be some sort of dark period. We don't have the number of days figured out, but we're saying within a couple days we should be up and going. And largely the reason for it is to your point that you just made, we are converting a lot of open data in. So open purchase orders, open receipt, or receipts with open purchase orders that are there. Unpaid invoices, like a lot of that stuff has to come over so that we can start running those processes in Workday, right? So from a supply chain perspective, beginning balances for inventory, item master items, par cards, all that stuff. What we're trying to do is in the middle of June, there will be a split deployment. We're calling it a split deployment. I'll try not to get too far into the weeds on this, but payroll and HR have to go somewhere around June 13th, right? They have to be in Workday. They have to be tracking time in Workday so they can get that first pay cycle out July 3rd, right? So they're going to go 2 weeks ahead of everybody else. During that time, we're going to have opportunity to do some of that conversion of data, a lot of our static data. So talk about suppliers, talk about these beginning balances if we can work with finance to get our physical inventories done before June. The PAR locations, a lot of the static stuff we want to try to get converted over because that'll minimize our downtime come July 1st, right? So that the July 1st, we're just catching up on, those purchase orders that got cut all the way up to, whatever date we say we're freezing, right? And all the invoices that are still open up to the date that we said we froze payments to our suppliers. That's really what we want to focus on when we get to July 1st is what's left that we haven't converted that we need to do some catch up on because that'll allow us to get up quicker. So my goal is July 3rd is actually a holiday, which works in our favor. July 1st is a Wednesday. June 30th, you'll start to see things coming down. There will be communication coming out well in advance of freeze dates, at least from a supply chain perspective. Hey, no more vendors after this date are getting added, or no more blanket purchase orders, have your blanket purchase orders created by such and such a date. You'll start seeing some of that communication happening over the next couple months to make sure that we're all ready. Because I know we're getting into that budget cycle time too for the next fiscal year. So we want to be mindful that we guys have you situated that when we do roll into Workday, it's as seamless as possible. But we do expect a couple of days of being down. Largely over the weekend though. Great question though. Yes?
In addition to e-request and representing travel, will all of the other university online systems be brought into Workday? For instance, we have facilities as their aim. What if the Cancer Center has eRAM? A lot of the transactions that we have are in Animal Logic and per diem and such go through those systems and not through e-request right now. Will those be transitioning or will we still be using those internal?
Yep, so the question is some of the other university systems that maybe are outside of eRequest or work with eRequest, will they be coming into Workday? The answer is there's still going to be some hybrid stuff that's out there. And when I say by hybrid, really the process that we went through is we as a project team, we looked university-wide. And that's why when you asked about Seaboard, the first thing that I went to was our system disposition. We identified all the systems that were being used, all the integrations to the PeopleSoft today or not. We looked at every single system to say, is there something in Workday that can replace this system, yes or no? If no, and we're integrating to Workday, do we keep that integration or is there a different way of doing things in the future, right? We were in the neighborhood of like 600 and some systems that we found university-wide, right?
That's all, huh?
That's it, right? Yeah, 600. So we have this massive list of system dispositions that we had to go through. Now, on top of the system dispositions, we also had what was called data dispositions. So all the data that's contained within these systems, are they sending, are they receiving? Do we have to put them in a reporting analytics environment for historical reporting or not? Are we converting that data into Workday or aren't we, right? So a lot of that analysis has been done. So based on the system disposition, we worked with the individual units. So CCC, we did work with CCC on eRamp. We worked with ULAR on eProtocol. We've talked to those groups, and we've got a plan of really what we took it from is how do we integrate it with Workday first, right? Is there an opportunity to integrate it with Workday? Does Workday replace it? Or we're not going to disturb your process. You guys might have to do manual journals to reconcile monthly or something like that with Workday. So we've got dispositions for all of those systems. So the answer is yes. It could be a hybrid. It could be we didn't touch it and it's staying the same. Or yes, it's going away and Workday is going to cover that. But that's the process that we kind of went through to make that determination. And largely that took us the last probably 3 years to get through 600 systems. It was a big job. So did I answer your question?
You did. When will we know, or how will we know which of those are integrated or not? I mean, is it going to be, we're going to just try it, or will it just be?
Yeah. No, I mean, when we get to user accepted testing, probably starting in March-ish, that's where if we're integrating with another system, or we're not, if we're doing things outside of Workday in another system, but we have, a monthly journal entry or something, those test cases, that's what we're doing now and end to end as a project team to make sure that that stuff's working before we bring it out to you guys and say, okay, here's what it looks like, right? We want to make sure that all those bumps are smoothed out before we bring it to everybody and say, okay, let's get in there and start figuring out how we're going to use protocol with Workday and how we're going to use eRamp with Workday. But there are things where eRamp is not going away, eProtocol is not going away. There are other systems that are just not going away. CMS, actually, Student Life uses CMS. AIM is getting replaced by CMS, but we're integrating with CMS for like FOD and stuff like that, Student Life and other things. So that was not me. I know I'm exhilarating you guys. Hopefully nobody's going into shock or panic. Yes?
This is a question about the handout. On the SCM user preview side, it's under PO issue. It says fax replacing email. Is that supposed to be the other way around?
Should be.
Okay.
Email replacing fax, yes. Thank you for that call out.
So like our org numbers and account numbers, all that stuff changing?
Yes, so the question is our org numbers, cost center numbers, GL account numbers, all that stuff. I am not part of the financial or foundational data model, but I can say with 100% confidence that yes, all those numbers are changing. Just as you saw in the line items here for the requisition, they're a little bit more descriptive, a little bit more intuitive, but a lot of this stuff is going to automate in for you. Like it's going to default for you based on things that you're doing, so you don't have to necessarily think about it, right? So if you have a grant that you're buying on, you may have to know the grant number, but once you put that grant in on your item line, everything else changes because it's mapped behind the scenes. We've done a lot of work from a foundation data model perspective to integrate all this stuff so that you don't have to think about the different combinations as an end user. I saw a question all the way in the back. Somebody raise their hand maybe? It was in my peripheral, sorry. Any other questions? These are great questions. You guys are, I'm glad that you were engaged. It's telling me you guys are heavily engaged in this, so I appreciate that.
Jack, I'll just point out that contact us. You think of things after you leave back at your office. I hope you go back to the office and talk to others about what you've learned. Come up with some more questions, send them right there. If they don't immediately know the answer, they'll help you find the answer.
Yeah, that enterprise project at osu.edu has a ton of information. I mean, a ton. You can spend quite a bit of time looking through all the stuff that's out there. So I would encourage each and every one of you, I know we all have 10 hours of meetings in an 8-hour day, but if you could carve out, a couple seconds to go out and look at some of the stuff out there, it'll really benefit you and make sure that you guys have a firm footing. So, any other last questions? Awesome. Again, thank you all for taking time out of your very busy schedules to come and join us today. Hopefully it was informative. I don't see anybody